Hey, let's get it, chat. Ladies and gents, I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. If you can, great. If you cannot, though, let me know so I can work things out and make things functional for tonight's session, ladies and gents. And we'll see. Get it, chat. All right, now I'm hearing my own self here in the background. That is no bueno. Let's go ahead and try to see if everything is running fine and dandy. If not, then we're going to have to make things work, of course, obviously. Let's go ahead and test things out right now. Let's see. Alrighty. There we go. Are we live? I think we are now indeed live and ready to begin. So let's go have some fun for tonight's session, ladies and gents. So let's see. I should probably move my mic a little bit more closer over here to the side. There we go. Hey, yo, is that Ionic Bond over there in the chat? What's going on, sir? How you been? I also see Boom over there in the chat as well. How's it going there? Hope you've been doing well. Hope everybody's been having themselves a fantastic evening, morning, afternoon. I'm not really sure where y'all may be living in time zone wise, but one thing's for certain, ladies and gents, welcome back to another session of Let's Chit Chat, where the whole premise behind this is as simple as it is. It's you and I, we sit down on the table right here, and all we do is simply one very specific thing. We sit down and we chat it out. Why? Because it's very essential for us to learn how to talk things out and get ourselves ready for tonight's session and see where things go from there. Now, I'm gonna be 100% real with y'all. I don't know what's going on here. Normally, in this section right here that you would see, like outside of the green screen line, there would be a chat box that would show up. One up here for the YouTubes and one down here for the Twitch. I see the YouTube one perfectly fine. I see all in the chat. I see comment there in the chat. Hope you all been doing good. But for some reason, it's not showing up right now. I'm going to assume that it's probably one of those things where it's like, oh, it'll be here. Just give it a minute. And so, yeah, we'll leave it at that. But let me know if I sound fine. Let me know if the music audio is quiet or non-existent at all. And yeah, let's get ourselves right into it, because today is going to be oh, well, there we go. We got it right there working. Perfect. Hey, comment. I'm actually started to animate my YouTube mascot after years. I started changing my life after. Oh, I'm sorry. First of all, I'm sorry to hear about your father passing away. My condolences to you and your family in that situation. And also, I also want to go ahead and, first of all, with what you said at the beginning, I wish you the best of luck with animation. I know how troubling and, complicated animation could be, but that satisfaction of completing something like that is one of the most rewarding feelings you can ever get. It is something worth pursuing, but know that it is a struggle. But when you complete it, though, that sense of satisfaction will just skyrocket tenfold for sure. I'm just saying. So yeah, no, sincerely. Once again, everybody, thank you all for coming tonight, whether it be here on the YouTubes or on the Twitch.tvs, wherever it may be across our area. We got it all going under control, as stated before in the past, and I'll just reiterate for those who may not be familiar with what's going on currently. A lot of things have changed in the platforming scene, so I thought I also kind of have fun with that and change things up in the platforming scene as well. Given some of my friends also seem to do it as well. So I thought, hey, let me go ahead and try this out. So we're streaming on 2 different areas, and hopefully it's working fine for y'all. Technically, the way it works is, if I'm correct, it's actually the main feed is on Twitch, and what you're seeing on YouTube is actually the copy of what's here on Twitch. It's pretty cool. So yeah, so fingers crossed that everything goes well on that end. And so let's go ahead and have a lot of fun. We got a lot to talk about, and I mean a lot to talk about. Why? Well, so much happened in just this day alone. First of all, we had the release of the brand new Pokemon TCG Pocket release with the what I guess people call it the Heart Gold and Soul Silver pack, but it's not even Heart Gold and Soul Silver pack. It's literally the Gold and Silver pack. And Crystal, I guess, if you want to consider that as well. With Lugia and Ho-Oh being the main characters or slash Pokemon in this set. And then, of course, outside of that, we also had the big announcement of there being a Nintendo Direct tomorrow at 9 a.m. EST, if I'm correct, if judging by the time zones, which is a fantastic thing and also a troubling thing, mainly because of one reason only. It is not a standard Nintendo Direct, it is a Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase. What could that entail? Well, for starters, don't expect first-party content, expect third-party content. So that completely changes the wheel as to how one should look forward when coming into this Nintendo Direct. It's also going to be a pretty short one too. I think they're saying it's around an estimate of 25 something minutes. So it's nothing that's going to be gargantuan of like how a standard Direct is expected to be. But I think it's still going to be a pretty solid one. And the reason I want to say that is because, well, we'll save that for when we get into the discussion for that. Outside of that as well, we also have, let's see, what else is going on in the World Wide Web? I know that some weird things are going on in terms of the UK and the issue that's happening there with verification of age and all that stuff, and people using, for some reason, the character from what is it? Not The Walking Dead, Death Stranding. They're using that character and even Gary's mod to some extent to verify their age. So that's also pretty insane as well to discuss. Just a bunch of weird things that's been going on in the week, amongst many other stuff as well. So let's get into it. Of course, I have with me just a good old classic H2O. Ladies and gentlemen, always make sure to stay hydrated, especially right now in this instant, because Jesus Christ, I'm kind of curious. How many of y'all currently right now suffering from like the horrifying heat that's going outside right now? Like earlier in the morning, that shit would spike up to like 90, even close to 100. It feel like 100 and something degrees out there. And my face was just getting roasted, bro, from this heat. Like I was getting cooked out there. It was horrible out there, man, with that. But you know, obviously stay hydrated, keep yourself safe, stay in shaded areas, you know, all that stuff that is an essential and necessity in that sense. So please, by all means, make sure to do yourself good in that department. But yeah, also, like I stated, make sure to keep yourself hydrated. Always keep yourself hydrated. Let me go ahead and check something real quick. I want to make sure everything is running fine over here on this end. Let me see. There we go. Okay, we're good to go. All right. Like I said, I'm just making sure the chat is running fine here, and there we go. Okay, let's get to it. Water is good. Not really. I actually enjoy the heat. It is the cold I can't stand. Now, see, I am the opposite. I love the cold. Here's the problem. I'm very picky with that, in the sense that I love the cold, where if it's snow, you got me. I'm happy with that. If it's just pure solid freezing temperatures with no real life natural enjoyment from like the snow and other weather, then it's just hell out there. Like if I'm gonna enjoy something, I need to enjoy it with its additional features. So like if you're gonna give me cold, give me snow alongside with that. And if you're gonna give me the heat, better bring in that heat when I'm at the beach, not when I'm coming from work. You know, like come on, man. Here in Texas, it's in the hundreds. God damn, keep yourself safe then, boom. So yeah, no, the weather at this time has been horrendous, bro. Absolutely horrendous. But not surprising to say the least, though. This is something I think, well, we're in the summer season, so it makes sense. I mean, come on, let's be real here. So yeah, like I said, make sure to keep yourself safe in that department. But anyway, let's go ahead and get ourselves into the first main discussion for tonight. I actually do have with me over here on this end. I probably should have had it over here on this side, honestly. We'll fix that for the future. But the first thing I kind of want to talk with y'all about is Pokemon TCG Pocket. And is that my man over here, the Gold Miner, as well on the Twitch side, Tekken 8? Yo, did they finally fix Tekken, bro? Tell me they finally fixed Tekken. Tell me they finally fixed Tekken. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about something that is been blasting social media right now currently in the Pokemon side of things. And if you might not be familiar with TCG Pocket, it is a mobile game where it is essentially, as you hear it is, it's the trading card game for your pockets. And how it works is that every day you get to pull 2 packs. And those packs will contain a bunch of cards, whether trainer cards, Pokemon cards, EX cards, full art cards, etc. Like how it is in the traditional Pokemon TCG in real life when you're buying a pack. The big kicker is obviously you get to collect them and you get to battle with people around the world. It's very streamlined, very fun, and I really enjoy this one more than like the original TCG set. Personally, I think it's because it's much more quicker than say its traditional trope, I guess, of like how it is with the regular 40 deck set, 60 deck set. Like, no, that's a little too much for me. 20 deck set though, you got me hooked. But anyway, the reason why I'm even talking about TCG Pocket in this current state right now is because I want to talk a little bit about something that's been going on at this moment. And that is in regards to a situation that happened earlier today from the Pokemon TCG Pocket's release of Wisdom of Sky and Wisdom of Sea. I believe those are the 2 things that are going on right now. You're going to get a peek at the Lucy patch notes once Evo ends. I'm praying this patch is good. Ooh. Is Evo currently going on right now by any chance, Savion? Just out of curiosity, so I could probably take a look at it later. So let's go ahead and talk about what I'm reading here. Currently, I'm reading this from MSN.com. In regards to Pokemon TCG Pocket will change the card art after plagiarism accusations. So while you can now start collecting the TCG cards from Wisdom of Sea and Wisdom of Sky expansion, 2 of the set's rarest cards are being changed in response to concerns about art theft. Soon after data miners began posting images of Wisdom of Sea and Sky's card on Tuesday, Chinese artist Lan Juju, I'm sorry if I mispronounced, Lan Juju? I really wish I knew how to pronounce that. Lan Juju? Anyway, the artist right here took to their X account with questions about Pokemon TCG Pocket using illustrations that seem to have been traced from their own work. In particular, this artist pointed to the Wisdom of Sea and Sky's immersive Ho-Oh card drawn by Sia Nanahara, a Japanese illustrator who has previously produced a number of art pieces for the Pokemon Company. Pokemon TCG's Pocket's original immersive Ho-Oh card bore a number of visual similarities to a piece of art that this artist was commissioned to illustrate back in 2021. Now, the artist didn't specify who originally commissioned them, but the art clearly served as the reference for a resin statue sold by PC House Studio, a company that makes unlicensed collectibles. As Polygon notes, the Pokemon Company has made clear that when fans distribute art featuring any of the company's copyrighted intellectual property, they are agreeing to a royalty-free, non-exclusive, irrevocable, transferable, sub-licensable, worldwide license that gives it the right to use, transmit, copy, modify, and display fan art and its derivatives for any purpose. That, to me, is insane. So this was something that we learned a while back when they began to kind of like branch out more about like the fan art seed and all that stuff. It was nuts when that first got revealed. And people were kind of happy about it. People were very unhappy about it. Mainly unhappy about this kind of news. The fact that your piece that you could be making right now, let's say you make a Pokemon picture of, say, let's go ahead and bring out, I don't know, let's go ahead and talk about these 2 cutie patooties, right? Let's say you make a cute artwork out of these 2, right? So you essentially gave free art for the Pokemon Company to use because they have the right to use these settings. Because they technically own the rights to these mons. What you're creating is just what they produced, So, is it legally a thing that they could do? Yes. Now, is it something that you could emotionally say is a good thing? No, absolutely not. No, people do not like that whatsoever. Anyway, as it continues on from here, legally speaking, that means, and I guess they were about to say what I was going to say. Given what was going on here? Let me see what Leaf here has to say in the chat. Given the sheer amount of fan art for this. It's difficult to come up with something totally original. That's the thing. 100%. I think people need to understand that at certain points there will come a moment uh, in a I guess a franchise's lifetime that somebody could make a pose or a reference or something like that that could just be replicated from something before, unintentionally so. Like, Mario's signature pose is something that could be unintentionally referenced or traced or whatever it may be. So it's absolutely insane that this is a difficult situation to kind of work around, because I guess it all boils down to how big does this sort of thing get. Like, let's say that there's a pose out there that replicates one of my character's poses in almost a degree. Like, how thin is that line to tracing, referencing, or just coincidence? It really gets to that point where you really just don't know what's going on with that. And this is a situation of that where this artist came out and spoke about it, and its popularity of this comment exploded to worldwide means. It got to the worldwide public. People talked about it on Twitter, on X, on social media, etc. It's very difficult and very easy sometimes, depending on how big an artist can be. If an artist gets blown up from a tweet or something, and it's so big that now the company has to respond to it, this is what comes from it. But if this artist was a nobody talked about it, and nobody put light to it, we would have seen these cards probably already here without needing to worry about the new art coming soon tab. That's how crazy this is. It's like, so like, this wouldn't be as big of a deal if the artist wasn't a big artist, or if that tweet making this comment was a big thing that blew up. But because it was, it reached the Pokemon Company's attention, justifiably so, just to kind of, let the artist, take note about this. So yeah, it's a very sticky situation for the Pokemon Company, a very sticky situation for really the artist as well, because they even mentioned that, hey, we made this art piece to use for a resin statue for what was it? A company that made unlicensed collectibles. I mean, like, there's some pretty shady shit happening on both ends when you really think about it. So, yeah, no, it's such a bizarre situation we find ourselves in right now with that. And the results came in the sense that even though you're able to collect the full art cards for Lugia and for Ho-Oh, you're not getting anything. They're just blank. They're just new art coming soon. And that's as that. If you're watching this from the YouTube scene, you'll see that the thumbnail is based off of that. It's absolutely crazy. And let me continue just reading some of the comments real quick before we continue. Let me see. Have we ever gotten a card with both Hisuian and regular forms shown at the same time? Honestly, I don't know, because I'm not really that big in the TCG scene, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did exist in some capacity. That's why people got mad at Mega Dragonite or the Dunsparce, because it felt like they were trying their best to avoid copying fan art of Megas and Dunsparce evolutions. Yeah, I remember. When was it? I think it was like a week ago I talked about this, but just for those who might not have been here, I remember there was like this rumor or discussion about fan art that I think the Pokemon Company, or like one of the directors of the Pokemon Company, came out and talked about, and said how we can never look at fan art at all whatsoever, because fan art could end up bleeding into our creations, and that could create its own situation. And from what I've heard, apparently there was supposed to have been an evolution that was to have come out during the X and Y days, or at least supposedly so. But there was a fan art that had been drawn not too long ago that eerily looked so familiar to that design that they had to ultimately scrap that evolution, because somebody else already beat them to the punch, coincidentally, by making their own fan art. Sometimes fan art is a good blessing and a bad blessing. A good blessing in the sense that they have their own imaginations and are able to spew out whatever it is that they want to produce, whether it be a new evolution or maybe an evolution for a Pokemon that needs a third form, or something of that sort. Unfortunately, this becomes an issue in that if you create something that ends up somehow being strikingly familiar to whatever it is that the Pokemon Company wanted to make. You unintentionally scrapped the Pokemon design, and it's no longer going to happen. So it's a really weird situation that the Pokemon Company finds itself within the staff itself, within the developers, etc. Imagine thinking you created something special and then somebody else had also done it too, and now you have to just let that design go. And you can't rework it because what you created was what you thought was the perfect design for said evolution. I remember there was a video I watched not too long ago about how they mentioned how, like, when they want to create a Pokemon, they can't just simply create a Pokemon that's cute or cool. They have to give it something to add to that to really make it stand out. You know, it can't just really be a cool Pokemon, because otherwise people will only call it as just it's cool looking. Like, they have to add something on top of it. So once again, Pokemon, in terms of how they create their designs, in terms of like what they do, it's really fascinating, but also kind of heartbreaking when you realize that they really cannot fully appreciate the outside creation sometimes. And when situations boil down to what we're seeing now, it's, you know, it's kind of heartbreaking. So yeah, but ultimately, as they're continuing on right now, the Pokemon Company has made clear that, oh yeah, we already talked about this. But last night, the company had announced that it now plans to update the card as well as the Wisdom of Sea and Sky's immersive Lugia, which also featured the whole art as part of a short animation. We are also conducting a broader investigation to ensure that no similar issues exist elsewhere within the game, TPC said in a statement posted to X. To all our players who have been looking forward to this expansion, and to the talented illustrators who have brought the Pokemon world to life, we deeply apologize for any inconvenience this has caused. We take this matter very seriously and are committed to strengthening our quality control processes to prevent this from happening again. The Pokemon TCG Pocket situation is the latest instance of a popular mobile game getting in hot water for using fan art without contacting the original artist. Earlier this year, Marvel Snap faced similar accusations on two separate occasions, once regarding a pixel variant M'Baku card that resembled an illustration by fan artist Jason Kiantoro, and another involving a card of the Ancient One that borrowed visual elements from Kamen Rider Wizard of all things. Wow. In the latter instance, Marvel Snap simply changed a few details rather than releasing an entirely new card. It's not clear when Pokemon TCG Pocket will update Wisdom of Sea and Sky's immersive cards, but if you happen to pull them now, you'll be greeted with a box that says new art coming soon. In freaking sane. So yeah, no, once again, it's a situation that either might have been pure coincidence, or maybe the artist straight up did do a thing where they just stole something. You never know. Like, there's so many weird things to kind of keep in play when it comes to this sort of stuff. Was it intentional that the artist went out of their way to just trace something or replicate something that was already existing? No one knows. Maybe so, maybe not. I'm not going to come out and say, yeah, this artist did it, you know, because at the end of the day, there's still always stories behind the scenes that exist out there that go into more detail about, like, what's happening. But unfortunately, this really does boil down to the Pokemon Company's fault in and of itself, because they never fully verified, or at least double checked on all this stuff prior to releasing it. They could have avoided this before it released. Now, mind you, this could have probably caused a lot of issues in that they would have to have had delayed the TCG expansion pass if they had caught it earlier on, because these are the full art versions. But hey, better that than getting your ass flamed on social media for having an artist replicate something that already exists in the past. You know what I mean? So TCG Pocket, the pack is available now. You can get either the Lugia pack or the Ho-Oh pack and get some really cool cards. There are some really good looking cards there. But yeah, for Lugia and Ho-Oh specifically, the full art versions of them, ouch. You're gonna be greeted with that. So not much else to say on that front there with the TCG Pocket scene. You'd think there'd be a lot more to it, but really it just boils down to what could potentially be art theft, but we really don't know the whole details about it. I'm at least grateful that the Pokemon Company is at least going out of their way to address the situation. and hopefully we get that resolved sooner than later. So I want to continue on with something that Savion mentioned earlier on Twitch here, which was in regards to Evo. So I knew that Evo was coming up. I usually watch this YouTuber, Maximilian Dude, really great content creator when it comes to a lot of the fighting game scenes and whatnot. So I'm very much excited for that. Evo when it comes out this year, you know, the announcements that we could potentially get, the updates that will potentially come for already existing fighting games, of course, like Tekken 8, Street Fighter 6. What else is there? Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, Under Night in Birth 2. I think there's a bunch of titles that are coming out for Evo. Well, not a bunch of games coming out, but more so a bunch of games that are going to be in 2025. I think it's going to be this year in Las Vegas, if I'm correct. Let me go ahead and double check on it through Evo's website. I actually do have it opened up over here, so we can actually take a look at what's going to be coming on for this event. And there's also going to be a bunch of games that are also going to be available on there as well. Games that are not actually going to be on the main stage, but will be something you could play early on. From what I recall, I think the Marvel fighting game that was revealed in Sony State of Play last month, if I recall, is going to make a presentation or a gameplay booth for you all to try the game out over at Evo, which is really great. And it's going to be happening from August 1st to the 3rd. So yeah, let's take a look at what's going to be going on. So we got here the full game list and details. So we're going to be having Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, Guilty Gear Strive, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus Rising, Under Night in Birth, I assume the second one, Mortal Kombat 1, Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, and Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes. That one is going to be so exciting, bro. Okay, so I love Marvel vs. Capcom. I'm not the best player in that one. I've tried playing it with Terrell and the others before in the past. My ass gets beat to death in that game. And to be fair, I know I'm not the really best player. I just like playing it because it's fun, like just to flick the buttons and do combos and shit. Like it's such a joy, you know. And if you own the Marvel vs. Capcom fighting game collection, please have fun with that game. It's so much joy. So yeah, there are a lot of really cool fighting games that they're going to be bringing into this year. And I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, bro. I mean, first of all, I'm a big fan of Grand Blue Fantasy Versus Rising. There's a lot of new characters that came out already since its previous one to now. I think like maybe 2 or something, but still that is a lot for a fighting game. And the one that was released recently, I think her name is Sandafon. First of all, love her design. I think that's her name though. I'm not gonna, hold on, let me see. What's her name that? Grand Blue. Let's see. No, it's not Sandafon. Who am I thinking of? There was another character that was recently released last month, I want to say. Who was it? No, but I know Sandafon is a unit that is here. Let's take a look. Who is it? I'm gonna just try to look for the fighters in this game because, I mean, why not, right? Where are you? I know I had you here. Let's see. Play Uni 2, it's great. I'll keep that in mind. Here we go. This is the one who I'm thinking of. Galleon. That's who I was thinking of. The dragon chick. Holy damn, if you've seen her design, bro. She in and of itself was what got me into playing Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. Just saying. But she's a grappler and she is a cutie for sure. Now, here's the thing. Now, I highly doubt we're going to see any announcements on Evo when it comes to, like, version exclusives or whatnot. But, listen. I'm just saying, we have a Nintendo Switch 2 right now, available now, capable of running a lot of more high-tech games. A bunch of those games, I am confident, with absolute sincerity, this will be running fine in here. So, I'm just gonna say right now, hey listen, I want a bunch of these games that are currently here to be on the Switch 2 or get a Nintendo Switch 2 edition that updates them to be running more with the modern hardware that's on the Switch 2. You know, like, I really do want to see Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising on the Nintendo Switch 2. I think that would be a joy. I want to see Tekken 8, if they'll actually get it running on Nintendo Switch 2 to actually be there. I don't know if it will, but I think that would be really awesome, no? I want to see Fatal Fury. I don't know if it's on Switch 2, but if there isn't, they'll get a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, you know what I mean? Yeah, no, these are some things I have in mind, and I hope that it succeeds, bro. Like, Under Night In-Birth 2, once again, I don't really know about that one. I don't know if that's on the Nintendo Switch 2, but let me see. It's called Under Night In-Birth 2 Cells, I think it is. It's making its second appearance on Evo, so this is in its first rodeo in this platform. But once again, this is a really solid lineup. I'm looking forward to it. However, my thing that I'm more excited for is going to be the stuff that is also presented in the sidelines. Like I stated before, we're going to be seeing more games outside of the main event that it's going to have, you know, presented here. So I think it's going to include, well, like I stated, the fighting game of Marvel Token, whatever it's called. Marvel Token, I think is what it's called. You know, so it's going to be there as probably a playable game, either through a demo or maybe potentially just through trailers and stuff. We'll see more characters, more of the game's gimmicks and whatnot. Nobody knows, but it is looking to be exciting. So Evo 2025, I can't wait to see more of it. I'll probably take a peek at it in the sidelines while we're doing streams and whatnot, but yeah, looking forward to regardless of what it's going to provide. Now then, as we're talking about this, let's get ourselves into the main topic for tonight, and I personally believe this is going to be the big one personally. What have you heard on the Switch 2 sale? Some said it was bad and some said it did okay. It's crazy to say sales-wise, because let's kind of roll back to day one of when the Nintendo Switch 2 launched. This console was the fastest selling console of all time on its first day alone, outbeating the PS5 and all the predecessors that came prior to the Switch 2. It is one of the fastest selling consoles. People love it. People played it. They had controversy, sure, with Mario Kart World, but like in terms of like the excitement and the hype that surrounded the Nintendo Switch 2, this thing delivered on that front. And I personally believe it's doing really well. Now, the one thing I don't think it's doing pretty well is the camera. The thing that they, you know, were hyping up about using the camera for the for what you call it, for the Nintendo Switch camera for game chat and whatnot, right? That feature, right? Like, I think a lot of people weren't very excited for that one, and that sales wise did not do very well. There was also a pretty big controversy as well that had happened with Mario Party Jamboree plus Mario Party TV or whatever it's called, the additional DLC that you would buy via the expansion pack on Nintendo Switch 2. And that pack included a bunch of additional things and whatnot. But when people bought it, they found out that some of the features that are available on Mario Party Jamboree are completely cut in some capacity from its mainline release. For some reason, there's stuff that's on the expansion pack, like the higher resolutions and whatnot, that can't be played in the Jamboree version, because for some reason the Jamboree version, it's its own separate thing. It's a very weird, just bizarre release that I think Nintendo probably should have stepped back and paid more attention to before they had released the Jamboree expansion. It has caused nothing but controversy. People are pissed off about it, and I don't know if Nintendo will ever tweak it or whatnot to make it actually really good. But Jamboree in and of itself is a really fun game. Don't get it twisted. Like, I have a lot of fun playing Jamboree with my family. But the expansion pack in and of itself is a very ridiculous format of playing Mario Party Jamboree. All of the additional content you get is considered as its own separate package and not part of the main experience of the game itself, which in and of itself is just bizarre. I don't know why. It really is dumb. It really is dumb. But yeah, I like Mario Party Jamboree. That's just me personally. But yeah, so now, like I said, Nintendo Switch 2 sales-wise, I can't really speak on behalf of that. I'm not really following too much on it, but I did hear Nintendo has been doing really well sales-wise. they've been restocking this thing left and right, so people can go ahead and buy a Switch 2 like easily this time around. Hell, I got me my third Switch 2 theoretically in a month alone, okay? So I mean, it really is just possible to get your hands on a Switch 2 around this time. So I hope those who missed out on it and are still wanting to get their hands on a Switch 2 have gotten the chance to get their hands on a Switch 2. We got a lot of better games this time around with not just simply Mario Kart World, but also one of the biggest release, and personally, one of my favorite games of this year, as of right now. This is my Game of the Year contender, Donkey Kong Bonanza. Really fantastic game, highly recommended. If you own a Switch 2, this is kind of a guaranteed must-buy kind of situation, in my opinion. It's a really great platformer. I think people would love it. So, and yeah, it's just been getting a lot of love and praise for that. Like, why would they do that unless it could cause gameplay problems? Ask Nintendo. Nintendo is a very weird company in the sense that they do this so many times, bro. This is such a Nintendo thing to do. They always would be the most innovative like company out there in the world that would create some of the most insanely addicting, fun, and diverse gameplay that you will ever get in a franchise, in a game. But then they'll also add an additional feature that kind of prevents it from really maximizing that fun in some capacity. If you've seen all of the controversy with Mario Kart World and its 3-lap gimmick versus its intermission gimmicks, you will understand why it's pretty nutty. And it is pretty nutty. But is it a good, is Mario Kart World still a fantastic game? Absolutely. What's happening though with the other stuff though? I don't know. Like controversy wise with all the other stuff, it's dumb. It's absolutely dumb. So that's my take on the matter though. So yeah, let's go ahead and now, since we're talking about Nintendo, let's go ahead and start talking about one of the best things that I personally am looking forward to when it comes to Nintendo, and that to me is specifically the upcoming Nintendo Direct presentation that's going to be happening tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just to kind of get this out of the way right now before I forget, because I will forget, and I apologize if I do forget. I will be available tomorrow to stream it. So if you want to see me react to the Nintendo Switch 2 presentation, come back here either on YouTube or on Twitch and to come and watch me react to the Nintendo Switch presentation tomorrow. I hope it's a really good one. Fingers crossed it is a good one. My biggest issue with Uni 2 is that unless you're on PC, no one plays it because it doesn't have crossplay, unfortunately. The Switch 1 player base doesn't exist, bro. That's what I'm saying. If they release a Switch 2 edition of it and it has crossplay in some capacity with PC, beautiful. So, I'm just saying, man. That's all I ask for. Like, fighting games are really fantastic. I really want to do more fighting games, but I also know that fighting game is very, as weird as it sounds, very niche to some degree. Because there's just a lot of fighting games. There's not just one fighting game. There's a dozen fighting games. And even then, fighting games have such a huge reach of different communities, different fans, different, members, like content creators, etc. Like there's just so much variety that exists out there in the world of fighting games, just like how it exists for racing games and with gacha games and whatever it may be out there. But the scene is just vast. So fighting games is still very fun. Like I said, I do love playing fighting games. I do love playing Street Fighter 6. I do love playing a bit of Tekken as well whenever I get a chance to play Tekken. And I've been having a lot of joy playing those set titles. But it's a very weird market, like I stated before. So yeah. With that said, though, it doesn't hurt to expand the audience to more platforms. So let's go ahead, you and I, why don't we, sit down for a little bit, and let's go ahead and talk about something that I personally am looking forward to talking about for tonight specifically. So let's go and open this up real quick because I want to make sure I have this. No, I do not have this. Okay, we will not use this right now. We'll save this for later. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch Direct Partner Showcase, however you want to call it. That's going to be happening tomorrow. We have, first of all, the announcement that it is a partner showcase. What does this entail? Obviously, this means no first-party content in any way, shape, and form, which is a bummer. Why? That means that some games, say for example Kirby Air Riders, that is coming out this year supposedly, we're not going to see that in this direct. Other titles such as, what else is out there that could be talked about that is first party wise? Metroid Prime 4 supposedly coming out this year. We won't hear about that as well. So a bunch of the Nintendo exclusives that you would know that we've seen before in the past, you won't see that here whatsoever. But you'll probably get some collaborations with Nintendo presented here. For example, there is that Legend of Zelda game that is in collaborations with Team Ninja. The ones, I think it's Team Ninja. The ones who's made the Dynasty games before in the past. And they're coming back to work on the Legend of Zelda's, the Age of Imprisonment, I think it is, the Hyrule Warriors game. So I guarantee you that there will be information about Hyrule Warriors in this presentation, because technically it's not fully Nintendo, it's Nintendo with a different studio. So they've done this in the past before when they've had an announcement for a partner showcase and then they showed a Nintendo game, but it wasn't fully Nintendo, it was with a different studio. So we could still see Nintendo related things in this presentation, so look forward to that. That's why I'm thinking that we're going to probably get some pretty big announcements here in that regards. But personally speaking, I think if we're going to be talking about like a Nintendo exclusive IP that's going to be here, I think Hyrule Warriors is just going to be the one and done for Nintendo side of things. What does this mean though for everything else? Because there's 25 minutes, okay? What could they show in 25 minutes that could make you go, okay, I need to buy that on the Nintendo Switch 2 and not say on my PS5 over here or say on my Xbox Series X, you know? We have these consoles right here for a reason. Like these two right here are theoretically stronger than the Nintendo Switch 2 in and of itself. So what could they do to make it more exciting to own on the Switch 2 than say on a more powerful console like the two shown here? Xbox kind of is slowly losing their scenes. Like a lot of games are starting to slowly not be in Xbox platforms. But for PS5, if you own a PS5, why would you not go ahead and buy it on said console there? You know what I mean? Now, personally, to me, I want to see a bunch of games that already technically are out right now, but just on the Switch 2 because of one simple feature alone, the portability aspect of it. I love being able to carry with me this big console on the go to play whatever the next third-party game is, like, let's say Yakuza 0 or say, Cyberpunk 2077. Yes, these are titles that already existed before in the past, but it's such a joy to play them on this in the portability aspect because that's what makes it so fun. I could be on my bed right now, just lying down in the bed here and playing this on my hand right now, you know? And there's some joys in that. There's something that's more remarkable when playing it on your handheld like device than it is to just play it on the big screen in your 4K television and whatnot. So, what is it that I personally want to see in this Nintendo Direct presentation? And there is a lot of things that I think that they could nail. However, there is a lot of hope that I personally kind of want to see them bring into the Switch 2 that I think would make so much sense. And I feel that if they don't take advantage of this, they are missing out on quite possibly one of the biggest markets that they could invest in more of. And the reason why I say all this is because of one simple feature alone, not just the Joy-Con 2, but the mouse feature of the Joy-Con 2. This little feature alone is so substantial for the future of gaming that it could literally bring a lot of platforming games or a lot of games that incorporate the mouse controls on PC over to a console in a seamless way. Now, Fortnite, I know people, joke about Fortnite and whatnot, but Fortnite is an IP that actually takes advantage of the Nintendo Switch 2 mouse control. The reason I say this is because not too long ago, I was playing with Terrell, Richie, and Nessa Fortnite over on his channel. And I was purposely playing the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Fortnite with the mouse control. They actually have a feature for this, which is really cool. I experimented, I tried it out. Was it efficient? Absolutely. It was very precise, it was very smooth. I had a wonderful time playing it with the others, and we won a bunch of matches. You know, like, there are so many wonderful games that could benefit from its mouse features alone that I think would make a wonderful inclusion into the Nintendo Switch 2 scene. Let's start off with one IP that I think makes the most sense. Marvel Rivals. I think that one in and of itself could be absolutely huge. Why? Because while it does, yes, have its own features to go ahead and, play as with the controller, a lot of people that I know, especially like, say, Richie or my buddy Detronic, who's played Marvel Rivals before, he stated that it's probably more efficient playing it via a mouse. The Nintendo Switch 2 Joy-Cons have that mouse capability, so Marvel Rivals would be a perfect home for it that would give you the opportunity to play with the controller, but also gives you the opportunity to play it as a mouse and Joy-Con combo, similar to Fortnite. I think that would be absolutely incredible. Bring that over here. Another IP that I think would also be pretty great to see something like this happen as well. League of Legends, another IP that benefits beautifully with a keyboard and mouse. Now, mind you, we don't have the keyboard aspects, but we do have a mouse feature that I think would be pretty cool to see, as you can move around the map with it, etc. So there are a lot of things, like I stated, that could benefit from being ported from PC over here, and most of it boils down to it's essential in mouse capabilities. So titles like that, and even games that already exist now that are on PC that use the mouse features as like a side thing, you could bring that to the Switch 2 and also bring in those mouse capabilities as well. For example, like golf with your friends. That's a cool game to play, and I normally play it on PC with the mouse control. But you bring that to the Nintendo Switch 2, you can use the Nintendo Switch 2 to use the mouse control as you're leaning your characters left and right, you know what I mean? So that's a thing that can potentially happen. So this is another crazy thing I highly doubt. I would be blown away, moving away from mouse games and whatnot, I would be blown away. In my opinion, I would be so thrown the hell off right now if they were to do this. If they were to go ahead and port over, well, not really port over, but bring over gacha games into the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, you guys already know me. I'm a gacha aficionado. I love gacha games. Hell, like this figurine right over here is based off of a character from Nikkei, Goddess of Victory. I highly doubt we'll see it on the Nintendo Switch 2 because it's not even on other consoles, but still, gacha games, I do believe, would make a wonderful home in the Nintendo Switch 2 with its big screen and whatnot. I think it could benefit from it. The reason I'm bringing all this stuff up is because I think finally now, with how effective this console really can be, I think we might start slowly seeing the Hoyo games make their presence on the Nintendo Switch system. Now, they've made an announcement a long time ago where they said, hey, we're gonna bring Genshin Impact to Nintendo Switch. And they talked about how it was inspired by The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, and all that stuff. And they said that we are going to make sure we bring this over to the Nintendo Switch in some capacity. When the game finally released, never came to be. That dream was shot out the window. But that vision was still something that I don't think is gone. I do believe that they know how strong this system is now. And I think they even had an article not too long ago where one of the developers in the Hoyo scene could say, hey, we could potentially see interest in bringing our Hoyo games, since we've brought it to Xbox and we've brought it to PlayStation. Might as well make the complete trilogy for consoles complete by bringing it over to Nintendo. And I think that would be monumental. Imagine being able to play like Zenless Zone Zero, Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact, amongst their bunch of other IPs over here on the Nintendo Switch 2. I think that would be pretty big. And not even that, like let's say if it does boom and explode, like this could give interest for other developers in those same scopes, in those same scenes, to bring their IPs over to this console as well. Ananta, one of the more interesting gacha games that is going to be coming out in the future, that kind of replicates the feel of like Spider-Man and free roaming, like how it is in like the Grand Theft Auto series, but in anime format. They could bring that over here into the Nintendo Switch 2 if it's capable of running it, of course. And I think that would be pretty swell. So there's just a lot of joy that could come from this, but it really boils down to whether the developers are capable of being able to get these things running on the Nintendo Switch 2, or if Nintendo will even allow it, you know what I mean? And gacha games, I know, pretty niche in its own scene in terms of like the mainstream media and whatnot, but I do believe it is something that would benefit greatly having another console in its, you know, in its wake right here. So Nintendo, take full advantage of it. You got a really powerful console right here with the Nintendo Switch 2. I would be so stunned if you didn't go ahead and try going to these companies and tell them, yo, let's bring some of the most popular IPs currently in the web on mobile devices, on handhelds, on other consoles, and bring it over here to the Nintendo Switch 2. It would be such a missed opportunity for them to not do that. I'm just saying. So that's my take on some of the stuff there. Water is delicious. Make sure to stay hydrated, chat. Alright. Continuing on. So we've already talked about some of the games that would use this mouse features, some games that could benefit from being ported over to the Nintendo Switch 2. Now let's start talking about some of the games that we already know are coming to Nintendo Switch 2 via their Nintendo Switch 2 Direct they had a couple of months back. Obviously, we know Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. We don't have a release date for that yet. Maybe we'll finally get a release date for it in this upcoming presentation. They could finally tell us it's coming maybe in November or December, you know. And maybe they'll also talk about potentially saying, hey, we also are capable of bringing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth to Nintendo Switch 2 in 2026. And maybe even go even crazier and say, hey, we could potentially be bringing the well, actually they can't say anything about that yet because Final Fantasy VII, the third one, is PS5 exclusive for, I think, its first year or so before it then goes multi-platform. But Rebirth and Remake, though, those are capable of coming over to the Nintendo Switch 2. Maybe. even on the PS5, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has its struggles, though. So keep that in mind. Will it actually ever make it to Switch 2? I highly doubt it. But the fact that they're bringing Remake to Nintendo Switch 2 in and of itself is really, really great. So let's continue on from there, though, and move on into the next thing. And that would be, let's see, off the top of my head, what was the other IPs that they showed off? I guess we could talk about the, let me see, what is it called? I wanna make sure. Nintendo FromSoft, I think it was called. Yeah, the Dusk Bloods. Okay, so the Dusk Bloods we know is coming over to the Nintendo Switch 2. It is an exclusive for Nintendo, so it's never going to find itself in other areas whatsoever because it is specifically made for Nintendo Switch 2, which is crazy that Nintendo got From Software to make that. But it shows you that they're really trying to push more, you know, of their own exclusives to their side of things, which is great. Now, mind you, the Duskblood is a very interesting title in that it's not similar to like how it is with Elden Ring, in that Elden Ring is more of a single player experience that you traverse through the map, etc., etc. The Duskblood is more of a multiplayer game where you're going and competing in like this open world area with other players out there as well. We don't really know much about it in any way, shape, or form outside of the trailer that we got. We just know that it really is an exclusive for the Nintendo Switch 2. They could bring over information about that in this presentation as well. I think it'll eat up a lot of time, mind you, because they have to go through all the details before then talking about the release date. But if they don't want to talk about it just yet, maybe release an additional trailer to kind of go more into detail about what this game really is about, so people can really know, okay, so this is what we're about to get into. Also, given that this is supposed to be a multiplayer exclusive experience, is this game free? Or is this game a paid to play kind of game? Because that also could be a big thing as well. Keep that in mind. There are some, like, look at what happened to Concord. That was a paid experience that you had to play. It's not free to play compared to how it was in the past, and that game bombed as hell, bro. So what's gonna happen to the Duskbloods? Is it gonna have single player experiences, or is it just mainly gonna be a multiplayer experience that's just gonna be exclusive to the Switch 2 and it's free to play? I don't really know. Nobody really knows, and maybe we'll find out more info in the Nintendo Direct presentation. Alright, sorry if you're hearing a lot of ice blocks shaking about here in my cup. That's just telling me that I'm thirsty, bro. I am absolutely thirsty. So let's see. I'm gonna just refresh this real quick before I continue. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Let's see. I'll leave that over here for now. Okay. So another thing that I want to see from more of the third-party scene is, well, more of the older IPs. There was a big announcement not too long ago that supposedly Red Dead Redemption 2, I think some of the Rockstar games were supposed to have had a big announcement. And I don't think we ever did get any announcement for that. I don't even think Red Dead Redemption 2 was confirmed to come for the Nintendo Switch or anything. So maybe they were saving it for this Direct. And maybe we're going to get the big announcement that GTA 5 and the Red Dead Redemption game is going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 because it's capable of running those IPs. Now, yes, obviously, it's not GTA 6. It's not the big IP that I think everybody was expecting, but still, I want you to keep this in mind. A portable GTA 5 experience on the go is insane in and of itself. I would be losing my mind on that alone. Yes, it's not an IP that's currently out right now in terms of like the big one. It's been out for a decade, but still, a portable version of GTA 5 would blow my mind in that sense. I would love that a lot. So, I mean, maybe that's what they're trying to wait on. Maybe they're waiting for this Nintendo Direct presentation to show off, hey, Rockstar could have some IPs right here, old IPs, mind you, that they could port over to this console. And I guess that's also going to be a big criticism for a lot of people with this presentation. I didn't even get to that discussion, so let's go and talk a bit about that. Here's the issue with this. I don't think we're going to get a lot of new content in this presentation. I would love to be wrong. I would absolutely love to be wrong. But personally speaking, I think it's just going to be a lot of IPs that have already existed in other consoles and have existed for years now. They're just finally going to make their way over here to the Nintendo Switch 2. I think that's really what it is. We're probably going to get like 1 or 2 different IPs that are finally going to get their official release date and come over to the Switch 2, but it's not an exclusive. These are just coming to the Switch 2 alongside all the other consoles that are also going to be shown off, like Xbox or PlayStation 5, etc. You know, but I think that, like, for the most part, this Nintendo Direct presentation is going to hit more on, like, our console is now capable of running these games, and therefore we can bring these IPs over to the Switch 2 without needing to retract a lot of its assets or its visual aesthetics more than anything else. So that's what I believe is going to be the bigger deal. I think it's just going to be a lot of, hey, look, we're finally bringing this over here. Hey, look, the Nintendo Switch 2 is now stronger, so we're releasing a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of a game that already existed in the past that now will get the visual enhancements from the Nintendo Switch 2 that you'll have to pay an additional $1 or so for the enhancements. You know, it really boils down to that. Like, I really do think, let's go with it real quick. Like, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, I think is going to make an appearance here. I know they made jabs here and there and whatnot. It's very cute. But I do believe it's going to make an appearance here, to be fair. So I see Sonic Racing Cross Worlds making an appearance in this direct. I see Street Fighter 6 probably getting some more information in their side here as well. I see Elden Ring probably getting some more of an announcement here, maybe like a release date, an official release date for it, because I think we know it's coming out, but we don't got an official release date for it yet, unless you can prove me wrong, though. I'm not 100% sure. So if you can, please chat, let me know if I'm wrong or not. I don't think there was a release date for it yet. All I know is that it's coming out on the Nintendo Switch too, so maybe we'll get a release date for that. Final Fantasy VII Remake, like I stated before, it's coming over to the Nintendo Switch too. We don't have a release date for that yet, but it'll happen at some point. And yeah, that's really a lot of the IPs. Like, I know there was some Konami stuff that they could probably show off as well. Maybe some of the Silent Hill games, they'll probably make their way over here. Maybe some of the more Resident Evil games could make their way over here as well. Now, this is a big stretch. This one right here that I'm going to bring up, I think this one might be one of the biggest stretches, but I would love to see this happen. I think this would be a big announcement despite it being a decade-old kind of game. I think this is the perfect opportunity to finally bring an official ported version, not a cloud version, a ported version of the Kingdom Hearts collection, okay? Y'all definitely pissed off a lot of people when that Kingdom Hearts collection was announced, and I know that a lot of us were not expecting Kingdom Hearts 3 to run on the Nintendo Switch, but I think a lot of us were expecting the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 games to have at least ran 30 frames or something on the Nintendo Switch, right? So now that we have the Nintendo Switch 2, and Kingdom Hearts 3 isn't relatively a new game per se, it's, you know, a pretty old game by this standard, I think that this point now would be the perfect opportunity to bring over the Kingdom Hearts franchise properly by giving them their ports here into the Nintendo Switch 2, not the cloud releases. So we might finally get our hands on Kingdom Hearts in a proper way. If they do this, if they bring Kingdom Hearts, the actual collection in this Nintendo Direct presentation, and they make an announcement saying that it's going to be dropping on the Nintendo Switch 2, not as a cloud, but as an actual physical port, I will be 100% playing through that experience, bro. 100% be playing through that experience. Because, well, I mean, who wouldn't want to have a portable Kingdom Hearts, bro? I would play through these games like that, bro. Maybe not Chain of Memories. I would probably play the GBA version, which they could still bring to the Nintendo Switch Online. You know, that's a possibility. So I'm just saying they could probably bring that over there. But like, come on, man. This is a possibility right there that we could see these things. But like I said before, I think that's one of the issues with this Nintendo Direct presentation, is that while it is such a cool thing that we are going to be getting a Nintendo Direct, and it's going to be based off just the third-party IPs and collaborations with third-party studios, this also presents a problem in that, well, it's just going to be pre-existing games. It's not going to be anything new for the most part. Like 80% of what we could be seeing in tomorrow's presentation will just be old IPs, but now available on Nintendo's console. That maybe stir people away from it, but like for me personally, I would love the hell out of that. To be able to have a portable version of like Kingdom Hearts or GTA 5 or Red Dead Redemption 2, you know, League of Legends, Marvel, you know, Marvel Rivals, some of the other stuff that I've talked about here. Hell, even Call of Duty could technically make an appearance here, and they could be as faithful to like the other consoles out there, and it's not neutered in some capacity. You know, the next Madden games or FIFA or whatever it is, they could be coming over here, and they're not neutered to a high degree like they were on the Nintendo Switch. Like, they could legitimately run like how they are running in other consoles, which is mind-blowing. Like, the Nintendo Switch 2 is caught up to a lot of the specs as of right now. And sadly, technology hasn't really advanced that far to where developers can really take full advantage of the hardware capabilities of like the PS5 Pro or the Xbox Series X and S. Like they're still kind of maxed up. So the Nintendo Switch is kind of like, while the PS5 and say Xbox Series X are like up here, back then the Nintendo Switch was like so down there in terms of specs that it was incapable of running a lot of these IPs unless a miracle port came to be. But now the Nintendo Switch 2 is more like in this area here. All they have to do is really just lower some resolutions and whatnot, and then it could just be in equal footing to the Nintendo Switch 2 and to other consoles. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's really such a cool thing that could come from this, but at the same time, if you're not excited for IPs that you may have already played in the past, like ReFantasia, I think that's what it's called, Expedition 33, Marvel, you know, what is it called? Not Marvel, freaking, damn, I lost my brain. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, Street Fighter 6, like these IPs, like you've already experienced, you've already played them. Like there's nothing new per se. They're just coming over to the Nintendo Switch 2. It'll have a value behind it, but it won't be that monumental. Unless you only ever played on the Nintendo Switch console and nothing else, not on PC, not on Mac, not on PS5, not on Xbox Series S or X. If you only play on the Nintendo Switch console, these announcements would make you go insane. If you have these other things though, you may be excited, you may not. You'll probably be more happy, hey, look, Nintendo fans can now get a chance to play this. Just saying. But like, to me personally, I'm enjoying what I got. No worries, Comment. Thank you for sticking around though. I really appreciate your company, man. Enjoy yourself, and hopefully this Nintendo Direct will deliver. Take care, buddy. So yeah, that's all I gotta say on the Nintendo Direct side of things. It's like, I want to be, I'm gonna come out and say, I'm gonna give, assumption wise, I'm probably gonna see myself in like a 6 or a 7 range for like my excitement for this Nintendo Direct. Why? Because I don't really think there's going to be a lot per se that's going to blow my mind. It's more like, I'm glad that these are finally coming over to Nintendo Switch 2, you know, more than anything else. And so we'll see what comes from that. But what else is there to go ahead and discuss on? Yeah, no, that's really it. I will say this though, I did see a lot of people who were disappointed though at the fact that this wasn't a regular Nintendo Switch 2 presentation, because the 25 minutes that could have been, that are presented here, could have also been included in the regular Nintendo Direct presentation. Because think about it, we are currently entering August right now. We are at a position where Nintendo needs to give reason for why you should go ahead and buy the Nintendo Switch 2 version of these games versus buying other console versions or the PC version. Hey, Executive Judge, how are you doing there, buddy? Fantastic Four is indeed, what I dare say, fantastic. It's not my favorite Marvel movie of the year. That still goes to Thunderbolts, personally. But Fantastic Four is pretty fantastic. Just saying. So let's go ahead and talk about, what was I getting into? Yeah, like Nintendo Direct could have been it should have been a bigger deal with this month. Like I said, we're jumping into August. We have no idea what we're about to get into. For example, Mario is celebrating its 40th anniversary really soon. And there was no official mention in any capacity about Mario's 40th anniversary. Now, a couple of years ago, we did get this like really humongous Mario anniversary event. Like I think it was Mario 35th or something, where they showed off 3D World coming to Switch with Bowser's Fury. We got the Mario 3D All-Stars collection that came with 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy. We got a bunch of Mario related themes coming out and other things as well. So it was like a pretty big Mario event. But there was no mention of a Mario 40th, which I think would be a bigger deal than the 35th, and we haven't heard anything about it. So what's happening here? Are they cooking behind the scenes for that? And I think it is because there was one game in particular that I think should have been in the batch of like the Nintendo Switch 2 enhancements that was not presented in any way, shape, and form. And I think they're hiding it because it's going to be in the Mario 40th anniversary event, and that is Super Mario Bros. Wonder expansion pack. Like, they made a big deal about like how the higher frame rate and fidelity was in the Nintendo Switch 2 presentation, but when the Nintendo Switch 2 version of Mario Wonder came out, there wasn't really anything else to it. So it's like, why would you use that as a sample unless you're hiding something? So that might be something that they'll do. Maybe 3D All Stars Pack 2, which could include, say, Mario Galaxy 2, 3D Land, maybe Mario 64 DS, who knows? Like, so, yeah, there's a bunch of things. Metroid Prime 4, like, the game is supposedly coming out this year. When is it coming out? Is it going to be in September? That's going to be, it's going to be horrible if you release it in October, because Pokemon is coming out that month, and that would be a horrible thing to do for for Metroid. You're essentially bringing it out to die out there, or maybe not make as many sales as it should. What else is there? There is also Tamagotchi Life that's also coming out next year, not this year, but it's coming out next year. Rhythm Heaven, that also could be something that they could attach a little bit more information on as well. Mario Kart World, you know, obviously there were these rumors and speculations about like how Mario Kart World secretly had DLC planned to go alongside with the release of Donkey Kong Bonanza, because there are some VAs that are in Mario Kart World that we don't see presented anywhere, but they're also appearing in Donkey Kong Bonanza, so they may be having some, you know, hint about like, hey, we're bringing some characters from there over here, or maybe it's not time for that yet, who knows. You know, Pokemon Legends EA obviously is coming out in October. We already got a big presentation about that. I'm glad that they're not showing off a lot of the game. They're keeping it really hidden behind bars, which is good because we're really only stuck in one city, so I don't want them to show off everything in that sense. Since we're gonna really just be stuck in Lumio City for like the entire game, so don't do anything that you're gonna regret, Game Freak. You know, so that's why I said I'm a little bummed out that we're not really getting anything substantial for this presentation. It could have been, maybe they're just not. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm also forgetting another IP, Kirby Air Riders. Remember, that's coming out later this year, supposedly. And so we haven't heard anything about it. I think that would be nice to see some information about that here. And other IPs that they could probably be potentially getting Nintendo Switch 2 enhancements as well. You never know. There could be games on the Nintendo Switch 2 that would benefit from an enhanced version. Like maybe they'll release a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Luigi's Mansion 3 or something like that. Or maybe they'll release a Nintendo Switch 2 version of Yoshi's Crafted World. Actually, Yoshi's Woolly World. Remember that leak that came out in the Nintendo Switch 2 presentation where they showed the icon for it, but it's not anywhere in the Nintendo Switch library? What's going on with that? Are y'all cooking something that we don't know about for Yoshi? Maybe it'll be in the Nintendo Switch 2 Mario 40th anniversary presentation. You never know. But that's what I'm saying. I think, like, as crazy as it is, as cool as it is, I should say, it is so fun to see a lot of these IPs coming over from other consoles and other systems here into the Nintendo Switch 2. But it's not really going to carry as much hype and momentum as one would think it would if it does not have exclusives to tie with it as well. That's why I think that the only Nintendo IP per se that we're going to be seeing in tomorrow's presentation is going to be Hyrule Warriors, to at least give some form of an exclusivity thing in this event. But every other IP that they'll probably show off in this presentation tomorrow is something you could also buy on PC, on Xbox, and on PlayStation 5. Which is still great that we're still getting the games on Switch 2, don't get it twisted. But like, if you already, say, own these games on these other consoles, are you going to double dip and buy it on the Switch 2? If you never had these before in the past, and your Switch 2 is like, say, your only console, then okay, you have reason to be excited, because now you have a chance to play these games that were only exclusive on other consoles before. So great on that department there. But to those who, say, own an Xbox Series S or X or a PlayStation 5, it really makes you kind of have to think about, like, do I buy it for this if I already own it on that? Or do I buy it for this instead of buying it for a higher, stronger console right next to me? You know what I mean? We don't need the Switch 2 becoming the new Saturn. Dude, but it's such a funny thing though. Because Nintendo put themselves in this position when you think about it. Allow me to explain. Nintendo released the Nintendo Switch, and it was nowhere near as strong as any of the consoles that it was about to face against. But they did this because they wanted to make the console more affordable and more, enticing for people to play and try out games in a portable aspect. And they showed off really great games to go alongside with it. Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, Xenoblade 2, Hyrule Warriors, or not Hyrule Warriors, Fire Emblem Warriors, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. Like, they're these huge IPs. And this one is like, we got Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. And then these other IPs that are also tied to Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch, So it's like Nintendo finds themselves in a very weird pickle at this point. Sure, it's cool to see these IPs here in the Nintendo Switch 2 console, but like how far can they really go with that to really get people excited for what's to come? Really has to make you think about that. So I don't know, man. It's such a weird ass situation to find ourselves in when it comes to this sort of experience. But yeah, wow. I didn't really think much about it other than like, damn, yeah, like Nintendo Switch, you guys gotta pick up your game, bro. I'm just saying, man, there's some IPs you gotta get yourselves excited for, and I hope they deliver on that front. But for now, my expectations jumping into this presentation is a little low, so I hope to be blown away. I hope to be blown away from this for sure. Maybe some PS5 games that'll get ported to the Switch 2 will be showcased. That's what I was saying before. Like, I think like we'll see games such as actually, you know what? Let me pull it out right now. I have some PS5 games over here that I think would be ported over to the Switch 2. Listen, this one is a stretch because I think it's still going to be Sony exclusive, but I would love for it. I would absolutely love for it to come over to the Switch 2. I'm just saying. But for now, we'll talk about this one. Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, here's the thing. Monster Hunter Wilds kind of runs a bit poorly. I'm going to be real. In PS5, it has its issues. It has its bugs. But it's still a pretty fun game. Makes me kind of question how in the world they intend to get this thing running on the Switch 2 is beyond me. But hey, if they want to have more sales on Monster Hunter Wilds, bro, you got to bring it over to more consoles. And bringing this over to, say, the Nintendo Switch 2 would be a pretty cool thing. Monster Hunter Wilds on the portable aspect would be pretty freaking cool. You already did that with Rise, and Rise really did well, so I'm just saying, Wilds, I think, would be pretty wild. Now, to really kind of blow my mind away, if you really want to throw my ass off, Stellar Blade from the PS5 to the Nintendo Switch 2 would be insane. Now, mind you, it only just came out on PC. I don't think this IP is going to like the Xbox console either. I don't even think it'll come to Nintendo Switch 2. But I would love to be blown away if they actually bring this over to the Nintendo Switch 2, bro. I'm just saying, shift up. Listen, I love your games. I love playing Nika and I love Stellar Blade, okay? This game and this IP is freaking phenomenal. It's not like the greatest hack and slash type of game out there of all time. But for their first attempt at this sort of thing, I really liked it. It's not my game of the year in any capacity whatsoever, but it is a fun game regardless. I would love to see that be brought to the Switch too. I think that would be a lot of fun. We'll see it happen if they do. Also, this would be a pretty insane Nintendo game to bring over. I'm just saying, bro. If I see that rated M on the Nintendo Switch presentation at the very start tomorrow morning, I'm gonna think it's this. I'm gonna think it's Stellar Blade, bro. I think we're gonna see Stellar Blade. Nah, I'm just kidding. I don't think we're gonna see Stellar Blade. As much as I would love to see Stellar Blade, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. So yeah, that's really all I gotta say on that. And before we get Stock 4, like that'll ever happen, bro. I know we're gonna be getting like those Arc System exclusives, so maybe they'll probably show off that one Arc System game that's exclusive to the Nintendo Switch 2. I don't remember its name. It was the one from that Arc Sys presentation they had a while back. Yeah, I don't expect anything monumental from that, but at least it'll be a game though. So you know what? I'll take anything. I'll take anything. You know what? I'll be silly. Here. Let's get some big announcements. Let's start off with the biggest announcement that they'll have in this presentation. Roblox is coming over to Nintendo Switch 2. That's going to be the big one. That's going to be the system seller right there. Right there, Roblox is coming over to the Nintendo Switch 2 family of systems, bro. And that's going to blow people's minds away. You know? There you go. That's all I got. Like, what else is there? I personally see, like, Resident Evil games. Come on, KG. You're not excited for Demon and Baby? Lol. Man. Remember when they were talking about, like, how hyped they were and saying, like, this is a fresh new IP. This is going to be the next big thing. This is going to be what people expect us to be. And then they're like, listen, we want to expand. We want to do different things, etc. We even got a director that you all are familiar with. Demon and Baby. Like, what the fuck? Man. Agua. I don't know, man. It's such a bizarre situation to see ourselves in with this one. Is it gonna be fun? Absolutely. I think it'll still be a fun system. Or a fun time. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's presentation. I can't wait to react to tomorrow's presentation. But like, I don't got much else to add to it. I really want to talk more about it, but the fact that it's a Nintendo Switch partner showcase versus a Nintendo Direct itself is what really is throwing me back a lot. Which is hilarious because I was watching, what was it, GVG's video of the Nintendo Direct announcement. And you could tell that shit was pre-recorded because it has a lot of first party talks about that, which is not going to happen in a partner showcase. I'm just saying that is probably one of the funniest things that came from that whole thing. And to be fair, people were expecting this to have been a regular Direct, not a Nintendo partner showcase. So, you know, I can't hate on them for that. So, yeah. Overall, not much else I can say for the Nintendo Switch Direct. I'm looking forward to that. But that's all I got to say on it. I want to be more excited for it. So, Nintendo, get your third parties out there and make a full-on swinging, bro. I want to see nothing but exclusives for Nintendo Switch 2 for the next 25 minutes starting in that presentation. And those better be good exclusives, mind you. Good exclusives, okay? Not just exclusive, no. Good exclusives. Expect a lot of indie showcase. Expect a lot of regular third-party showcase ports and shit coming over to the Switch 2. That's really where it's going to sink in. Okay, so let's go ahead and now move ourselves from the Nintendo Switch 2 discussion into one of the more last things I think we can talk about for tonight. And that really is, let me go ahead and open this up real quick. Because I really did not use this whatsoever. Here we go. I want to talk a little bit about, where is it? Here we go. This might be a bizarre thing to talk about because I never talked about this since ever in a very long time. I've been hearing a lot of things going on right now. Maybe you guys can fill me in. I don't know. You guys can probably keep me up to date with this. Or maybe not. It depends if you guys actually follow this thing or not. But I want to ask y'all, sincerely, what's going on with Horizons right now? So, my buddy, I have some buddies. I normally talk with Kuro when it comes to Horizons specifically. I know some of my other buddies are also watching Horizons as well. And people have been going nuts about this upcoming episode in particular, which is supposed to be an episode that dives deep into, like, Spinel, I think it was. And no, it looks like it's going to be interesting. And I think Liko and the Chark is going to have a lot of involvement with that. So I'm looking forward to it. But, like, A lot of people are saying that the reason people are excited for it is that we really don't know a lot about what's coming for the future of Anti-Poke when it comes to this, because, well, Legends EA is coming out soon. Is Pokemon Horizons going to be following that trope? Is it going to try to like tie in a lot more to Legends EA, or is it really going to try to divvy itself more further away from it by doing more Horizons related things? You know, I don't know how many of y'all, raise of hands here, I don't know how many of y'all have been following with Pokemon Horizons or have just completely just derailed from Anti-Poke in general, just out of curiosity, because I'll be 100% transparent here. As much as I've been watching Horizons, whenever I do, I've just kind of like fell off that scene. And I think a lot of content creators did as well. Mainly because, well, obviously the story of Ash and Pikachu is already freaking over, so there's really nothing to contribute in that, you know. So it's interesting. It's such an interesting thing to see Horizons in this situation right now, where I feel like Horizons deserve, in my opinion, I still believe Horizons deserves a lot of the attention that people should be giving it to, versus it just being completely ignored because Ash isn't there. And like, if there ever comes a point when Ash returns or something, if that ever happens, you never know. Like then suddenly everyone's gonna come back and it feels very off. It's like y'all just left because he wasn't here and didn't even give a chance to this story. Now, to be fair, if you've already been journeying with this boy for like 20 something years and you want to call it quits by then by all means, you deserve it. Thumbs up, you know. You've experienced the beginning to end of this boy's story. But at the same time, it just feels a little off with like what's going on with Horizons, and I don't really got anything to say on that. Like, Horizons is such an interesting thing right now, because it really is doing a lot of what I wanted to have seen with the story of Ash. And they're exploring all of that here with this show, but like my excitement value for it has really dwindled dramatically. So I really hope it's been succeeding in that on. Apparently some of the animation has been mixed because some of the best animators are working on other shows. At least Horizon is still different as far as story goes. No, 100%. Like, I really am very happy that Horizon is doing its own thing. That it really is pushing itself to go outside of its norm, to push what should have been something that we should have experienced from previous adventures. And they never bothered to explore with it in this show. But at the same time, like, is Horizons doing really any good? Like, I don't know, man. Outside of that, like, big 1 year later thing, I feel like it's just kind of it spiked with the fact that it was a statement saying 1 year later, and then just went straight back down, like not even 24 hours later. Like it went so high up, and they just couldn't maintain that momentum, and then it just said, "Now we're gonna go all the way back down again." Like it almost made that 1 year later feel insignificant to some degree. Especially because of that 100 episode where we finally found out, hey, maybe there's something going on with, you know, Freed and Pikachu, well, specifically Freed and Charizard, but we don't know, etc. You know, it's such a weird thing to find ourselves in with that. But yeah, no, I just wanted to kind of ramble a little bit about Horizons, because Horizons really has been that kind of show that's like, is it doing good? Is it not? I don't know. Wish I knew. Even I say wish I knew as I'm also watching this show, but not like as frequent as I think I should be. And to be fair, Horizons isn't really like grabbing me as tightly as it should be. And I think that just boils down to really, I actually seen a little bit more discussion recently. No, there is still discussion. Like, I'm very grateful that more people are talking about it, but it's nowhere near the level of like how it was in the past, when it was like with, hell, even some of the content creators that I'm familiar with are not even like fully diving deep into discussions of the show that's currently going right now. What are they doing? They're making speculation stories of what Ash is doing in his own adventures that is already far from over, because really everybody's so fixated on that boy versus fixated on what's currently happening now. And which is great, mind you, that we're still being able to talk about all this what-if scenarios, but it also bums me out that that's really where everybody has to, where everybody wants to go, bro. You know what I mean? Have to go, KG. Until next time, take care, Boom. Hope you've been having yourself a fun time, bro. Be safe, man. But yeah, no, I'll see if I'm kind of curious if I'll ever do reactions to those shows again. I would love to try to visit those as like a reaction stream at some point for Horizons, though I would probably have to run all the way back to since 2023. I think that's when I finished streaming Horizons reactions. You know, I don't remember when was the last time we reacted to Horizons. I'll be 100% transparent with y'all, but damn, it'd be nice to try to revisit that again. The fact that the anime took too long to end Ash's journey is kind of the problem. Well, yeah, he had like 3 chances to have ended his journey, and they just said, no. You know, that's what it is. Other animes had their protagonist journey end relatively at a good time. No, that's what it is. I'm glad that at least it ended versus it not ending at all. And I think what stung more is that it ended on such a sour-ass note versus it should have been ending on a more popular note is probably what pissed me off more than anything else, really. You know, but that's just me. That's just 100% me. You know, so that's all I gotta say on that front. Overall, that's pretty much all I had to say for tonight's discussion of Chit Chat. You know, I just wanted to go ahead and chat with y'all a little bit about what's been going on in my mind lately with the stuff that's been happening here with the TCG Pocket, Tale of the Rack, hell, even some Pokemon Horizon Chittle Chat right here as well. Just to kind of, you know, let that air out and kind of ask what's going on with that, because I'm kind of curious if anybody even knows what's going on with that. But I really enjoyed it. So, yeah. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in for tonight. It's a little bit of a shorter session than I normally would prefer doing, but I still had a lot of fun regardless, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. For now, I'll leave things as is. Tomorrow, I do intend to come in and do a reaction to the presentation, so please look forward to that. If you want to come and check me out here on Twitch or on YouTube, you're more than welcome to do so. And I look forward to just seeing if that direct presentation will live up to its expectations or will fumble the bag and ultimately doom ourselves here. But we'll see. We'll wait and see for that. So for now, chat, thanks again for tuning in for tonight's discussion. Really do appreciate it. My name is KG Prestige. I'll talk with all of you lovelies later in whatever video I make. Take care. And as always, do me a solid and have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful night. All right, everybody? We'll speak tomorrow. Gotta go head out now. Bye-bye.